What's up, guys? This is going to be a little bit of a longer video because this time I'm going to actually reveal everything about the creative strategy that we do in-house. So these are all brands that we've worked with, and this guy here, for example, is someone who just watched my YouTube content, my free content here, like this video, and actually just sent me a screenshot recently of doing 30K days, 200K in the last 7 days. But the brands that we've worked with scaled up to $400,000 a month in active MRR, right? So monthly recurring revenue, or this guy here, very, very recent case study to 4K days, and all these other brands that you see on the screen here. Okay, so I'm not here to waste your time. I'm going to get right into it. Basically, I believe that the first number one reason why people's hit rates on their ads are so low is because they don't track properly. And the more metrics someone tracks, this is something from Alex Moses I found pretty interesting and pretty cool and pretty true, is the amount of metrics that they actually track. What do they look at? If they get a result of a creative test, do they say, oh yes, my ads failed, or no, my ads are working? Like, is it a yes or no situation, or are they actually going deep into it or trying to figure out how much like it is good or it is bad, or, and even if they are, how much are they doing it? Okay, because you can always go deeper in the metrics. And so there's like the situation where you don't know what to do with your ad account just means for you that you're not tracking enough metrics. You don't have enough information, and in my opinion, it's actually not smart to actually spend money on ads and to not learn from those, to not actually see what you're buying. Because if you spend money on ads, you're not just losing that money, you're buying data, and if you don't know what to do next, the only thing that's missing, the only key information is you are lacking one of the key metrics that I'm going to present to you guys here. And so obviously it's very different for image and video ads, and you have to understand that if you want to actually keep sustainably doing this, you have to kind of separately approach these, maybe even set up separate custom columns in your ad account. Now these are kind of the most relevant ones that I look at. For image ads, there's the ROAS, and is this actually from top to bottom of importance, okay? So ROAS is the most important metric, and it doesn't matter if all of these are bad, and that's for both video and image. This is what I want you to understand from now on. If the ROAS is good and everything else is terrible, it's still a good ad, and you can still scale it up, okay? That's what I need you guys to remember. Now, ROAS is good. Then the cost per add to cart, which is one of my favorite metrics. Why? Because it tells you not only how good the ROAS is or how good it's going to be, but also how sometimes the cost per add to cart can tell you very closely how much spend this ad is going to hold. So both video and image, this is at the second spot. Then we have the conversion rate of each ad. Yes, conversion rates depend heavily on the ad, right? And not on the actual like website and the offer and whatnot. Like, you can heavily impact this. And if you actually type and make a custom column right now in your ad account, which is purchases divided by link clicks, you will see how completely differently each ad converts of yours. And now you know, okay, it's not my offer. My offer is just the average of all these ads conversion rates. Keep that in mind, okay? Then we have the CPC link click, obviously a little bit less important, but as important, obviously, in terms of the iteration process, which we'll go over as the conversion rate. Then we have the add to cart rate, which is, obviously should be around 10 to 15%. And so this is just something which tells you, okay, for the amount of link clicks I'm getting, I'm actually getting enough add to carts. You have the CTR link click and then the CPM. These are like the most relevant metrics for the image ads. Now for video ads, it's the same thing up to the CPM, but after this, we have a couple more about the drop off of the video, because this is actually very, very different from each length of the videos and for each exact, ways that you could look at this. But what I want you guys to remember, also start tracking, is the hook rate, 25% video view, 50% video view, 75% video view, and the pitch rate. The hook rate means how many people are watching the first 3 seconds of your ad, meaning, like obviously you make a custom column, 3-second video plays divided by impressions. This metric is going to be the one that actually tells you very simply, black on white, how many people are watching your hook. How good is your hook? How much does it grab the attention, right? And so it should be around 50 to 60% to give you a little KPI there. Now, we have the 25% video view, 50, 75. These are all just video views, basically, so to show you, okay, the drop-off curve, it should be obviously exponential. How many people are dropping off during your ad, okay? So you can see, okay, for example, hook rate to 25, let's say it's a 1-minute VSL, should be around half of your hook rate, okay? So let's say this is 60%, 25% video view should be 30, right? Ideally, if it's lower than that, again, okay, there's something wrong with that. Maybe it's a script problem, maybe it's a visual problem. Let me track those. Let me actually test those against each other. Same thing for 50, same thing for 75. And then the pitch rate, and that's going to be the interesting one, is the 100% video view rate. And so that's the one where you can see how many people are watching after the call to action. Now, this should not be half of this. This should ideally not be even higher than 2%. If this is higher than 2%, you're leaving a lot of clicks on the table, because this means that more than 2% of people are watching after the call to action until literally the last second of the ad. why are they still there, right? Your call to action is not good enough, or your ad is too short, which is a good thing because you can make it longer, you can increase the CTR like that, and you can increase the conversion at the same time like that. So this is a very, very relevant metric. I would say even if I were to rank this from importance, I'd probably put this right here, right? The hook rate, pitch rate, and then the drop-offs in between, right? So the important thing, what you need to remember, why does this all matter? Why am I telling you all this? Because you need to, every single creative test that you do, you make a spreadsheet entry. And ideally, you have winning variable spreadsheets for both winning and losing variables. Obviously, the losing one is going to be a lot fuller because the hit rates are usually for every ad is just really, really low. And every ad, even if it's a winning ad, has a losing variable, to be fair. So what you do is you look at all these metrics, and then you look at specifically, okay, what variable in my ad did I basically use, or did I have, or did I write, for example, the script section that actually gave me this metric? And so what you're going to do is, for example, right, let's say you have a drop off from hook rate to 25% of more than half. Okay, it's more than 50%, you know, it's too high. Well, then what you're going to do is you're going to write down the script of your 3-second to 25% of how many seconds that is, and then basically write down what visuals, how fast the pacing was, blah, blah, blah. Now, the idea of the winning variables spreadsheet, or in this case, the losing variables spreadsheet, would be to write down what was the script, what was the visual, which one of these was it that led to the thing actually being so low. Because most of the cases, it's not both script and visual and audio and everything. No, it's just one of those things. The more isolated you can write down entries into your variable spreadsheets, the more obviously you can use them later on, because you can look at it later on, maybe give your new ad to AI, let's say write 2-3 months later, same project, you write a new script, you upload your old losing variable spreadsheet, and you write it and give ChatGPT a little prompt which says, you know, check if I made this mistake again. And it's going to tell you black on white, yes, you already have tested this, it did not work, change the script here. And this is what you need to understand. This is why this matters so much, and especially for winning variables, especially if you have, keep in mind, let's say you have a good ROAS ad, and then you want to go deeper and see, okay, what really led the ROAS to be super high? Let's say it's the conversion rate, and then it's an image ad, which is a bottom of funnel something which converts really well. Well, that's something which you can write down. Maybe if I write a Black Friday badge on the bottom with up to 50% off, this is a winning variable. You want to write down as many things, as many entries as possible, and per line, you always want to have one very isolated entry. And when we're talking about isolation, oftentimes it's not really very clear which variables led to the ad working or not. And that's not a problem, because there are ways to isolate each variable and test them against each other, even after Andromeda still works, yes, and that you can basically use as optimized as possible and as efficiently as possible to know exactly which variables led to the ad failing or working, or any parts between, okay? So we have the hook test, we have the avatar test, and we have the mechanism test. These are like the most relevant ways to use this, okay? So we have basically image ads look like this. All of these three have just text on it, okay? So this is the important part. They're just gonna be image ads that have a line of text in the middle, and the difference is basically what you test against each other and how much you spend, okay? So the hook test means you basically test the most important relevant part, which is your text hook, also called your content hook, in the first 3 seconds of your video or your headline of your image, but only on an image ad. So it's gonna be like this, no visual at all. The call to action is like learn more, it doesn't really matter. Primary text, headline, description, you can leave all blank, and you're just gonna test like 30, 50, high volume, okay? Because you're just gonna spend $2 each, right? And you're gonna look at the CTRs. So you basically look at the click-through rates of each of these and look at which one is above 7% and which one is below $70 CPM. And those are your winners. Those are the ones which you wanna take and move on to an actual proper creative test after. If you do this for every single new concept introduced, you will make more money. You will have higher hit rates on your ads, because this is the most relevant variable when it comes to drop-offs, for example. Obviously, your hook rate. To boost your hook rate up, you have to have a hook test hook, right, which has a better CTR than the previous, okay? So you can actually compare instead of having to rely on an ad, a whole entire ad, we already throw all the variables together, right? And then rely on that completely to basically outperform the rest. No, you can actually isolatedly test everything and then see for yourself how you can just combine and throw together winning variables, right? And then basically have super high hit rates. This is one of the favorite things. Hook test, always do this. Very, very powerful. Second thing is the avatar test. And this is more for whenever you don't really know what to do, whenever you don't really know who is interested in your stuff, who buys your stuff, and also especially when you test a product before the hook test, and say it's like a supplement, and you can angle this towards 20 different avatars, then obviously you should do an avatar test instead and actually see for yourself which one is performing the best. So what you're going to do is you're going to spend the CPM on each, right? So let's say the CPM is 20 bucks. You're going to spend 20 bucks each, and you're going to look at the best ROAS, okay? So what is this, right? So this is basically an image which says we're looking for 15 blah, 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 from blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah years old that want to solve problem XYZ until blah, blah, blah. So for example, you could say we're looking for 15 men from 30 to 40 that want to lose 15 pounds until Christmas, right? So this would be a very, very clear avatar test. Basically what you do is, again, you test like 5 of these. You don't want to do too much, and you definitely don't want to repeat yourself here. You basically want to do one each, and if you go very much in depth on each, and so what you want to do is you want to test all these against each other and actually see for yourself, after spending one time your CPM, which one has the best ROAS. And the same thing applies for the mechanism test. Mechanism test basically means that you actually go ahead and test like the way that you want to have your brand remembered in people's minds, okay? So the mechanism basically is these three, you have these 3 options of kind of, testing them against each other. You have the mechanism behind desired result, right? And then you change the mechanism, for example, or the desired result, if that's what you want to test. Why mechanism changes everything for target customers. So this is something which you could combine with the avatar test. And then we have forget old method, meet the new mechanism that benefit. And so these are all different ways to actually test the best mechanism of your brand against each other. Once again, you spend one time your CPM each, look for the best ROAS. Okay, so these are ways to actually isolate this. The cool thing is you can get really creative with this, because if you feel like, okay, I really don't know how I want to structure my disqualifiers, for example, in my image ad, what you could know is, okay, let me actually test conversion rate variables against each other. Let me test disqualifiers. Let me test call to actions. Maybe you do a call to action test where you have image ads with just different call to actions. And then you can basically do this for as much as you want, and then actually just throw together and combine bits and pieces of the best variables that you tested. And you're going to save money doing this. This is not lost money. You're going to save money, because if you were to actually test these variables against each other in an actual ad, what's going to happen naturally is you're going to spend a lot more. And there's also a lot of other variables that are going to impact the performance, and not just this, okay? This is where it gets interesting. Now, I also want to basically break down here in this video how to do the market research, because after both of these things are done and you know sort of, okay, I know what to track, I know that it's dependent on me and what I track and how I isolate the variables, but I still need to do research properly, because 70% of creative strategy is still research, okay? So it's still, most of it is still basically based off of market research. We have competitor research specifically for VSLs and image ads, which I'm going to break down, and I'm going to break down basically our spreadsheets that we use each, okay? So for the competitor the market research spreadsheet that you just use to actually find competitors, this is like a creative inspiration folder, right? And so you want to basically fill out these things. Yes or no, are they a direct competitor or not? Which niche are they operating in? When have you last checked this? Because you're going to always check constantly the same ones again and again. If they still have more active ads, or if they have any other ad concept, anything like that. Page likes, so this turned into followers. Most common ad concept, right? So basically, what is really, if I'm going to count through the last like 30 ads, what is the most common concept that they've been doing? Has it been mostly image ads? Has it been mostly videos? What kind of concept each? Same thing for awareness stage, main avatar, main angle, some notes, right? This is pretty easy, pretty simple. Now for VSLs, there's a specific different one, and same thing for image ads, okay? So for VSLs, what you do, same thing, awareness stage, avatar, angle. However, now we're getting into the specifics. Hook sentence structure. So is it a question? Is it a statement? Is it a question statement combination? Statement question? What is it, right? Hook length, how many words was it long, right? Branded or UGC? So is it more of like a UGC VSL hybrid, which is like, hey, this is my experience with the brand? Or is it a branded VSL, which is more of like, okay, I am an authority figure and I'm telling you how this works, an educational VSL? Then we have the VSL concept. Is it going to be, like I said before, a UGC VSL hybrid, or is it going to be, for example, a podcast style? Is it a street interview? What type of VSL is it? We have the length of the overall ad of the VSL, and then do we have testimonials at the end, yes or no? Now, the reason why you need these variables is because, again, the whole point is pattern recognition. And once you actually run yours and test these against the competitor ones, you're going to actually see, okay, my variables that I did like these, or that I took from competitors that they all had in common, each did work better. And this is the key thing that you're going to learn from this, by the way, is whenever you fill out a market research spreadsheet, You're going to ideally do this for multiple different competitors. And then after you have that done, you're only going to take the variables and bits and pieces that all of the competitors have in common. That's the whole point. The whole point is looking at which variables of the competitors are winning. And those are things that they're iterating on. Those are things that multiple competitors have in common and so on. And those are only the things that you're going to take as well, because every brand has bad things as well, right? There's no, like, get out of the mindset of thinking every brand is perfect. They all do everything right. They don't, okay? They all have winning variables and losing variables, and it's your job to basically kind of blend them all together and see which ones all have in common. And the same applies for image ads, okay? For image ads, it's going to be a little bit different. It's basically, do we have a call to action at the end, or like at some point in the image? Do we have a visual? What type of visual focus is it? Is it going to be a product focused visual? Is it for example, a native ad? Is it a problem focus? Is it before and after? Is it a comparison? What is it? What kind of disqualifiers do we have? So this is, for example, a price drop, like here, yes or no. This could be an offer drop, again, a call to action, and any other disqualifier like objection handling, like any other more text, right? Do we have a call out in the audience in the hook, for example, an age call out? So all these different things are disqualifiers, and it's your job, again, to write down what sorts of disqualifiers people use. Okay, so now we're going to do a lot of market research specifically for image ads, static ads, however you want to call it. Essentially, this is focused on a lot of volume. Okay, so what we want to focus on is really just putting a lot of variables in here and a lot of filling this sheet out basically. And it's going to be a bunch of different image ad briefs for the same competitor too. That's what you're going to realize for this. This is kind of different for the VSL, where you want to focus like more horizontally on more brands just to get a better overview. Basically, in terms of other columns, once again, same sheet template as before. You can download it immediately. Essentially what it is, we have the same angle stuff, hook sentence structure stuff, hook length, but now we want to focus, like we want to know if it's more of a product focused, outcome focused, problem focused, whatever. What is the visual focused on? Do we have a call to action? Do we have other disqualifiers in the ad? Do we have a price drop or an offer drop in general? And then notes. Okay, so this is what we want to focus on. Let's get started. So I'm going to do the research here for, Huel, the brand, pretty big brand. They have on this Facebook page 140,000 page likes, so they know what they are doing. Basically what you want to do when you look at active ads and then media type, images, and memes. Okay, so that's what you're going to do to filter out, anything that is not a static. And then we'll just take a look. Okay, so what's maybe the longest running one, right? Let's check them out because they have a bunch of them, right? So for example, here, scroll down. Okay, so this is not English. We have from French stuff going on, German stuff going on. Okay, so this is something smooth, creamy, oh so banana. Okay, so this is more very product aware, to be fair, right? They have a product aware ad. Let's see if we can find something which is a little bit less aware, just so we can put that in there. Actually, I don't know if okay, so this is probably something. This is interesting. Look at this. All right, lost 80 pounds so far with Huel. So we have, a very we have very interesting here. We have a couple of disqualifiers, which I'm going to break down. So this image ad, this static, I'm going to open it up, open image in new tab so we can take a look at it closer, right? So what does this image ad do? Well, first of all, we're going to obviously take the image ad in here. So in the image ad example, we want to take the whole specific actual ad link URL. Once again, last check, 27th of July, active ads. Huel has I think they had 100 active images, right? So we only want to look for image ads. Awareness stage, now we get onto it. So lost 80 pounds so far with Huel, so this is pretty solution aware, right? Obviously it's not comparing anything, so we could say problem solution, PS, just like problem solution. And then we have main avatar, just weight loss, and then same thing. Yeah, weight loss, I would say everyone, right? So literally everyone, they don't really niche down. Main angle is really just actually fat loss quick. And then hook sentence structure. So this is I would say this is a statement. Hook length, it's pretty short. They have a specific number in it because they said they lost specifically 80 pounds. These are things that you got to look for. Do they have any specific number in the hooks, right? Then visual focus, this is actually pretty product focused, right? So we have the logo on it, we have how the use case, the mechanism / product, I'd say product focused, right? Do we have a call to action here, right? Let's check it out. Now we don't really have a call to action. No, actually we don't have a call to action. Disqualifier, right? disqualifier, we actually do have a bunch. So this is where it gets interesting. So we have obviously Trustpilot stars, just in general, right? Disqualifiers are basically things that make the ad convert better but reduce the CTR, okay? So these are things that you can play around with when you're iterating. We just want to see research-wise what kinds of disqualifiers do these guys have. So they have the Trustpilot stars. They also have a price drop here, right? So they have, price and offer drop. And so what else do they really have here? I mean, they have the review, but that's the hook more or less. We have a disclaimer, which I guess could be, and then we have, this is just, I guess the as a disqualifier, we could say overall, maybe also like a mechanism. So they have kind of like put it here, how many, like their nutrient specific things. And then price drop, yes, notes, pretty solution, problem aware, good ad. All right, that's all the notes I'm going to have. Again, you don't need to fill out the notes every single time, but then this is how you want to do your research, right? So we just be going over their entire thing and look at, for example, this, meet your new office launch. So once again, we have a price drop, grab yours now. So here we have a call to action. So here, for example, we would do CTAS, and you're going to go through a bunch of these. Once again, at the end, you just want to notice patterns. Okay, now once again, thank you so much for watching. All right guys, what's up? In this video I'm going to show you exactly the 4 different frameworks that you can follow and that you can use for mini VSLs, right? So obviously there's normal VSLs and they're complete normal structure, like we kind of already discussed basically in other videos. We start essentially with a unaware story. We start at the hook, then with the story, then there's the problem section, then we have a solution section, then we have a product section, and then we have the call to action. Very simple. But the second that we kind of get more aware, or we want to make super short ads, or we want to make brand awareness ads, what happens is obviously we open up a lot of new frameworks, a lot of new styles of ads that you can follow when it comes to doing that. And I want to present to you the 4 different ones and when exactly to use them. Okay. The first one is the comparative approach. It's kind of like the us versus them, right? So this is something which you use if you have a solution / product aware hook. So basically use a split screen in the hook itself to highlight how your offer stacks up against the rest of the market, emphasize your unique mechanism, and point out what competitors miss. So only, and this is important, the product mechanism, not your solution mechanism. You talk about your product mechanism, and then end with a clear call to action. Length is going to be around 30 seconds to a minute long for this concept. There's not a lot of beliefs that we need to change. Again, the only belief that we need to change if it's a product aware us versus them is actually that we are the best competitor, right? Why it's actually worth it to buy from us, not just go to Amazon. And then the solution mechanism basically only then if we actually talk about a solution aware hook. And that's when we kind of also talk about that. The second concept, second framework is going to be the before and after narrative, right? So you just showcase the progress over time, either with carousel ads, for example, that works fantastically well. We can also do this in form of video ad, right? Instead of just saying before and after, try with or without, right? This is also going to get around ad account issues to make the contrast subtle but powerful and also kind of pitch your product automatically, subconsciously. And then let the implicit impact shine, then drive the action with a call to action. Third framework, pain, agitate, solve. Okay, very simple. Open a hook describing the problem. Customer quotes work really well here. Expand on the challenge so the audience feels it. Present your product as the solution. Explain how it works and underline its benefits. Conclude by painting a clear picture of the positive outcome of the customer, right? This is the third one, okay? So the pain, agitate, solution. Very simple, very classic. This is the classic mini VSL. You have the hook, you have the, where the stage you're in, probably the problem, probably no story. Story is very VSL, normal VSL characteristic. But then after the problem, we have the solution, product, call to action. Very simple, okay? Follow it. And then we have the feature highlights. So you use a close-up image of the product, surround it with 4 to 5 short benefit statements, right? And then use a tool like, Canva or Photoshop to make easy multiple variations. So this is like the image ad stuff that you see in the graphic design section. So these are like really, really good things to also train your copywriting on. This is why it's in this section here. And I would actually, if I were you, I'd use most of my time actually working on concepts like this if you just launch a brand, because it's easier to launch more aware anyways. And then the more aware you launch, for example, let's say you have a product aware or solution aware winning hook from the hook test, super easy to make this concept, and split screens did really well recently, so try it.